Welcome to Embrace the Spiritual Podcast. Join friends Michelle and Dawn as they share tips on how you too can open your heart, raise your vibration, and reclaim your sovereignty. Hear what they have experienced and overcome in their spiritual journeys while navigating this expansive spiritual multiverse. Discover how they transform their soul lessons from ordinary into extraordinary.
Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual Podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Go to embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website, alchemy-sacredsound.com. And to book a quantum energy healing session or learn Reiki or Tuning Forks, visit Michelle on her website at energeticembrace.com. Welcome back to this episode. We are so excited to have a new special guest on our podcast today, and we are talking about a cool topic which was new to Dawn and I, called spiritual response therapy, SRT, sometimes called spiritual response technique. And our special guest, Carolyn, is a friend that I worked with many years ago. So we've kind of reconnected and, still following each other on social media and keeping in contact. And she was posting that she had some SRT times available. And you know how sometimes things just come into your awareness at the right time when they're meant to. And had a session with her, and as much energy work as I've done, I thought, wow. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now, even talking about it, that so many different things had come through than I had experienced in different kind of readings or sessions that I had done. So of course, I'm letting Dawn know what happened in my session. And so she booked, and the result is we had to have Carolyn come on so I know for me, having the SRT session was just kind of methodical in a really cool way, where it took us to where we needed to go. And versus just a kind of intuitive channeling, I guess. Spirit is guiding through the technique that she's learned to take us into pieces that had never come up in my awareness before, in all the Akashic Records work that I've done. So I don't know, it was such a cool experience. Dawn, I don't know what you have to add to that, but
yes, I had so much fun, and it was so interesting, and I liked it because it was following a train of thought that I had never thought about, and taking care of, when you're cleaning a house, you forget about things like, let's pull the fridge out. It was like you're pulling the fridge out for your, spiritual stuff that got hidden, and cleaning out, in between stuff. I just really liked it. And my session was kind of funny because Archangel Metatron is my guy, and he kept trying to butt in. So it was kind of interesting. So those who don't believe in angels and other things like that, it's true, because I can feel him. He's like, yeah, I was trying to butt in. Of course, they're with us all the time. And if they want you to connect with them, they're going to let it be known. And so we kind of had to tell him, let's step to the side for now. We're working on stuff. And yeah, I just loved it. It was clearing out stuff and things that I hadn't thought about, and things that I didn't even know were possible, that had happened in this life, current life, and past life. So yes, tell us more. I would love to hear all the good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today talking to you about SRT. And so a little bit of background on me. I've been doing spiritual response therapy for about 3 or 4 years now. I discovered it in 2020. A friend of mine was going live, and it was one of those immediate, there is something to this modality. I need to work with this person. I need to learn more. And I'm really passionate about spiritual response therapy because it's changed my life, and it's accelerated my healing. And honestly, I've personally witnessed so much transformation in myself and in others. And I'm just so happy that I'm able to share this tool. So spiritual response therapy. So it's a modality that was channeled by a man by the name of Robert Detzler. It's primarily used as a way to clear subconscious beliefs. So limiting beliefs, blocks, negative energies, and programs that are running in the background. And kind of I like to think of it as a computer program. I know, Dawn, you mentioned it was kind of cleaning house, but it's almost like those things that are just running in the background that that it's there, or maybe you don't even know that it's there, but it's just operating, and it's very much affecting what's going on in your current life, in your present everyday life. And so how this modality works is we use a pendulum and a system of charts, and we connect with your high self. And so we work directly in the subconscious mind to remove all of those discordant energies through using the pendulum and charts and connection with high self and with spirit. I think it's important to note that the pendulum is the tool. The pendulum is not what's healing you. It's just the tool that's used to access the subconscious mind. And while our conscious mind may not know what's happening, our subconscious mind very much does. And so it usually knows exactly when we're blocked and what the cause is, and it could be actively working against us. So when we ask a question, the pendulum will move and provide a response directly from the subconscious mind or the high self. And using this tool, we can quickly and effectively identify the root cause of the block and ask your higher self to just clear it. And so I think that's what makes this modality so powerful, is that we're clearing back to the point of origin, and it's relatively quick, painless, effective. And oftentimes I've found that, when we're clearing something, most times it's permanent. So it's a really powerful tool to have in your toolbox.
I've always loved working with the pendulum. And I know kind of the caveat I'll put on that is you have to make sure that you're really clear before you work with the pendulum. And I know Carolyn, as part of her process, like there's a very specific kind of preparation process for getting ready for sessions. No different than when Dawn and I do the different modalities that we work with. You always have to prepare yourself. So if you are new to pendulum work, there's, definitely do some research on how you can kind of clear yourself and make sure that you are connecting with who you should be connecting with, because there are a lot of low-hanging fruit, so to speak, of not so nice beings and entities that want to interfere. So I've always loved working with pendulum, and I think that's what really was cool about this technique for me. And I do love that it's not a straight line to healing. Like it is literally, I kind of pictured scroll. Okay, oh, left, we're going over here. Okay, oh, no, now we're going over here. And so I love that, because healing isn't a straight line. We are zigzagging all over the place. And when we zigzag, I think that's a good thing, because we are like getting behind the fridge and cleaning out those dust bunnies that may have been there far too long, and, setting up residence. And we want to clear those things out. So many things I know we're aware of consciously that, okay, I need to work on this. I need to work on that, healing, but there is that subconscious root of it. So I love, Carolyn, that you said, we want to get back to the root of it, because if we can't find the root, we're not fully healing. We might just be healing some of the programming and triggers, but we want to get to the underlying issue. And I really found it was interesting in my session that I had with Carolyn that some of the things, and it was a specific question that was asked about whether we need to know the reason why this is being cleared, or the kind of backstory, if you will, because I think sometimes we get hung up on what the story is. And when we get hung up on the story, even though it's cleared, we could inadvertently be recreating, maybe not as deep of an issue, but we could be recreating it. So I like that you kind of maybe didn't even realize you put in that little caveat that sometimes can be permanent. And that's really what it is we're still ultimately responsible for our own self-healing. So we can have beautiful practitioners like Carolyn that, we can have profound healing, but we have to maintain it. We have to make sure we don't get caught up in the stories, and just know that when you have this work done, that it's cleared, and trust the universe, and trust your higher self, trust your guides, that they've done the work to clear it, and not continue telling yourself the story. Put it that way. So this technique, this SRT technique, kind of like Carolyn, like first time I like to experience things, so I kind of read up on it, see if it resonates with me. And then, of course, until you have a session, try having a session. We'll put Carolyn's links on our website, and as part of the podcast episode, you have nothing to lose. Like Carolyn said, it's not painful. You're not having to lie down and take a whole day off because your head's going to be spinning afterwards. It is just so cool what can be uncovered. And there was a couple past lives where, totally makes sense, but I had no idea, for as much work as I've done with myself in the Akashic Records. It was like, wow, that was really cool. But like any healing, the more work we do, the more we can get into those deeper levels and deeper layers. So it's not a one and done. like any healing modality, we need to continue, as Shrek says, peel back the onion layers and continue to grow and continue to heal. That's our role on this lifetime, is to figure out what we need to learn and heal. And this is a great tool, in my opinion, to help get rid of some of those layers.
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on a couple points there. What I will say is that spiritual response therapy, I think one of the reasons why I was initially attracted to it was because it satisfied my intellectual mind. Because this modality, you're able to access the Akashic records and research in such detail. And you can drill down to an exact previous lifetime, what was felt, what was said, what was the experience, were you hurt or harmed? How did it all play out? And you can get really granular in the details. And I think that's one of the reasons why I liked it so much to start with, is because it was fascinating. It satisfied my curious mind, but also it felt so thorough. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love to share SRT with other people. So those people who are, like myself, intellectual, it really helps as a connection point to your spiritual journey and moving forward.
Yes, that's what I love about it too. It's so, when you're going through a process of healing, it's so on point. And there was some points that I'm like, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. And it was so cool, learning about the contracts and stuff you can do so much delayering, but I like how you dug deep. And it was the stuff, I'll let you share some of my session grinding my teeth, was because you didn't say possession, but I can't remember the word that you used, but it led to I was channeling and I was not of love in my heart. So it does all come back to, are you in love or helping? And I was not, unfortunately, in that past life. So if you could share more on that, I would really appreciate it.
Oh, okay. So I have to caveat this. And I know that many other healers are the same. When you're doing the work, I often let go the session afterwards. So unfortunately, I don't know if I remember the exact program that we were clearing for you, Dawn. But what I do remember is I think we might have gone to the soul qualities chart. And so I think when we're talking about soul qualities, our whole goal for soul qualities is to learn and use these characteristics in an orderly and harmonious way. And if we fail to use these characteristics for good, in peace, in love, in wisdom, then discordant energy can accumulate and be attached, right? And so they're relatively easy to clear using SRT. But one example could be selflessness, the soul quality of selflessness. If it is turned up too loud, it could present as a martyr, right? And so it's actually kind of, it seems like it's a good thing, but it's actually working against you when the dial is turned up a little bit too loud. And so for you, Dawn, I don't remember the specifics, but it could have been, yes, you're channeling, but it was just turned up too loud, right? And so you weren't able to get back to, a harmonious balance of that soul quality, right? Does that resonate?
Yes, it does. So yeah, I think you use I could swear you used the word persuasion, or it was a P word. And I'm just I've never heard of that. So I really like that you're using different terminology for what you had found out, and it was cleared. And we made sure it was through all lifetimes and space, because when you're doing this kind of energy work, you want to make sure it's never going to come back in. And I just love that. And because I channel too, it was also cool because I was able to interact with you and be like, oh yeah, they're saying this, they're saying that. So I also love that aspect too, that you make it organic and go with the flow.
Yeah. And I have to share that I do really love working with clients who have everyone has intuitive abilities. We know that. But those who are dialed in, it makes it such an interactive experience. I've had some clients that have, literally taken the words almost right out of my mouth, what I was about to say, or they have intuitively said, feel like the energy of, guilt is coming up. And right at that moment, my pendulum had, just authentically went straight to guilt. And so I love working with people who are intuitive. It just makes clearings so much fun, to be honest.
Well, I remember when I had my session with you, Carolyn, right from the beginning, and I didn't say anything till bit later on, but I kept getting this grandfather energy coming in, and I could tell he was kind of sitting off Carolyn's left shoulder, and was just kind of hanging out there. And then we got talking afterwards, and she literally has a cabinet beside her that was her grandfather's, and he was in there. So you never know, like anything, you never know what's going to happen in some of these sessions. So I love that it is go with the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. That was super special. And you know what? It's interesting because, people on the other side or our loved ones and stuff like that, they often are curious as well. They want to come in, they want to be part of the fun, they want to learn. I know my instructor shared a story one time. She was offering a class in person. I guess this is not really my story to tell, but I will share it because I think it's a fun little anecdote. But she was offering a class, and her child at the time, came upstairs because she was getting ready doing her hair. And it's like, all the people are here for the class. And she's like, oh my gosh, what? And so she's busy, she's like, they're like an hour and a half early. Like, what is this? And she ran downstairs, and it was actually just all of the spiritual people on the other side that are here to learn and here to experience it. They were all ready. They were like sitting there with their pen and paper ready to go. They were so excited for it. And so, yeah, when we do this work or any spiritual work, we're almost like moth to a flame. Like, people want to come and want to learn. I think what's really important with spiritual response therapy, though, is that when we're doing this work, we are dialed in and only working with high self and with spirit. And so that gives us the direct channel, the direct wisdom that we need, and directs us where we need to go and what needs to be cleared, right? And so sometimes, as Dawn had mentioned earlier, interference can come in. It can come in through extra souls that are coming in. They're like, oh, she's doing a healing, I need to be healed too. Let's go. I'm going to come in and, interfere. Or it could be our guidance team or committees, or it could be entities on the other side that are coming in to block or interfere or wanting to be healed themselves. And so we just politely say, thank you for coming in. We only want to be working with high self right now. And then at the end of the session, we'll call back everyone else in. And so they can help you integrate the clearing and support you moving forward.
One of the other things that was really cool that came out in my session, and Dawn, I believe this happened with you as well, is our own set of guides, right? So we have guides that we might have a guardian angel and someone that comes in with us for the entire life. We have guides that are here for only maybe parts of our journey in this lifetime, at least. And so it was really interesting that part of the technique actually kind of went in. I don't know if that's standard for everybody or just happened to be with Dawn and I. So maybe you can talk about that, Carolyn, but do some of your guides need to be, some of your team need to be changed out, right? Like, as we're evolving, our guidance team on the other side needs to evolve with us. And sometimes maybe that's holding us back. So maybe if you could speak into that, because I thought that was a really cool aspect of this system and this technique that I hadn't seen in another modality.
Absolutely. So when we start a session, we always start by, first of all, setting our intention for the clearing, what we are wanting to have cleared, what we would like to have happen, how we want to feel at the end of the session. Essentially, I really like to focus on the feeling and what's our end goal here. And so once we set our intention, then we do what we call a prep to work. And so in that prep to work, we are preparing ourselves to get work. We're setting up the triple shield of protection. We are making sure that we're only working with high self and spirit, and we're checking our committees. And so if you aren't aware, I think most of your listeners are, we all have spiritual committees and teams that are working on the other side. And so we like to check with SRT right off the bat, and we do it for everyone. We make sure that they're all downloaded with the right and proper information, that they're clear, that they're free of any abdication energy, because, sometimes they have their own things that are going on and programs and things like that on their end. So the idea of your spiritual team, of course, is to have the people that are guiding you and supporting you in your next level of ascension and next level of life and throughout your day-to-day, right? And so oftentimes, actually, it's not necessarily oftentimes, but there is certain times where I will check, or I'll feel guided to check, like, is everyone who's on this team the right person or the right individual? Are they working for the highest and best of the person that is being cleared? And so if they're not ready, willing, or able to move forward in this next level of ascension, or to help with this next, what needs to be cleared, then we ask that they be assigned to another soul. And so sometimes we can just clear them and get them on the right track. But most times it's just about clearing and assigning them to another soul so they can serve on that person's committee and help them out. And of course, any new members that are coming in, we make sure that they're 100% on board and that we have the right number of committee members. Because, sometimes you can also get cluttered and have too many cooks in the kitchen. Can be a little bit complicated and frustrating at times, right? So yeah, that's one of the things that we do with SRT. And I will say too, sometimes when you're replacing out several members of your spiritual committees, it can instill a bit of a feeling. You can get emotional, like you've been working with these these committee members on the other side, and you have a relationship with them, right? But trusting that it's in your highest and best, it might happen later in life that they're back on your committees again, right? So, but SRT is a really powerful tool to be able to just test that, like what percent committee members need to be replaced, and go ahead and do the replacement.
Yeah, I love that, because some of my committee members had to be replaced, and I was just like, oh, I never thought about that. But energies are changing so much daily, and who I came in to this life has changed so much. So I'd love that you can always double check or triple check, I guess, maybe even quadruple check with, somebody else to see, are they working to the benefit of all that are involved? Because, as we are speaking on this podcast, we are putting energy out there, which is literally rippling through all time and space to quantum universes. And we want to make sure that we are working at our highest and best for everyone that is involved, because we're trying to create new energy, and we are creating the new energy. We just want to make sure that it is dialing into planet Earth at all times and being in love and light and what she needs, because we're helping her. So I love that you're able to check for that. And it's also something that is not done in different modalities. I've never even thought about that in my aura sessions, because you're there for certain things, and just love that you can do this. And I do have a question. So it is pendulum work. Do you go through the process of clearing that and stuff, getting down to the technical stuff?
Absolutely. So yeah, that was actually, I remember now when Michelle was talking earlier, I was going to jump in about pendulums and working with pendulums. And so it's interesting because, my teacher will say that a pendulum is a weight on a string, and that can be as simple as that. But I will also say that most people, when they have pendulums, they have a crystal on the bottom as well. And so crystals can take on energy. Even objects can take on energy, right? So it's really important. I always smudge and cleanse my tools before and after I use them, and make sure that they're operating at the highest and best for the highest good. I will say too, like when we're using the pendulum, I have my pendulum programmed very specifically. A lot of people work with pendulums and, they say clockwise means yes, or counterclockwise means no, whatever it means for them. When we do our SRT training, we have a specific way that we program our pendulum. And so back and forth, is that the way to explain it? Back and forth is yes, when it goes horizontal, I guess, from left to right, that is no. And then when something is being cleared and we're, clearing something or working through something, then it spins in a circle for us. It's such a powerful tool. But I will say I've also used, my earbuds as my headphones as a pendulum at times. Like honestly, when you're in a pinch, a weight on a string. A pendulum is a weight on a string.
I'm giggling in the background because years ago we had a girlfriend night out or whatever at a friend's place, and one of the girls there was pregnant, and I think one of the other friends had been trying, or a couple of them, I can't remember the exact situation, but I literally used dental floss and my ring. So I put my ring on the dental floss, right? Because then it's a heavy end, and use it. And so of course we tested it, right, with the pregnant girl. Are you pregnant? And so we're going around the room, because we're all right at that starting family mode, going around the room to see. And my one girlfriend, it showed that she was pregnant. She's like, what? And it was to the point where we even had her go get a pregnancy test, like go to a store, get a pregnancy test. And it actually showed negative. So then she booked to have blood work done, the doctor. And guess what? The blood work showed she was pregnant. So the pendulum actually showed she was pregnant. The pregnancy test didn't. So she was so early on, it didn't even register. but the pendulum knew because spirit was guiding. And, you know, back then, of course, I wasn't really on a spiritual journey, so to speak, but just goes to show, yeah, it literally can be anything. And it was fun anyways. So one of the questions that I wanted to bring up, because we'll talk a little bit too about the different types of things that can be cleared, but seems to be a hot topic now about soulmates, twin flames. You know, sometimes so many people are looking for that higher connection. Is this something that SRT, have you done much work, or have you had many clients that have come looking for those kinds of answers? And is that something SRT handles? Because I know there are some listeners that are going to go, I want to know, so they might be booking with you. So I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, because so many people throw about soulmates, twin flames, and it's just like, I mean, my team's like, whatever.
This wasn't on my bingo cards of things that I thought we were going to talk about today. So I didn't.
That's what I mean. It just flows in.
Right. So yes, it is definitely a hot topic. And I wouldn't say that there's a specific section, but we can be guided into that topic. And so what SRT can do is we can clear like energies between individuals. So say I had a client in that came with a partner. They're like, I don't know, this pattern keeps coming up layer after layer. It keeps coming over and over and over again. We're not sure how to clear it. Like, what is going on? What we can do is we can go in and see, is there anything in between these two individuals that needs to be cleared? And in doing that, we might be guided to go into the Akashic records. We might be guided to a specific program. I could maybe do a hypothetical here to kind of put it into context. We could be guided, say there was a program of fear. And so in researching this program, we go to a specific past life. When we're researching the characters, so we're like, who was involved? Who was playing what character in this past life? What was the circumstance? Who was harmed? Who did the harm? Throughout that research process, if we can't clear that life just by knowing that information, knowing the discordant energies that were attached in that life and carried over into this life, because usually that's why it's coming up, is that it was unresolved in a previous life. And so in our current life, we still have those energies, we still have those subconscious beliefs that were attached to that specific scenario in the previous life. So if we can't clear that life, then we can ask questions like, is there a soul relationship here that we need to know about? And there's actually one chart that says twin flame, flame mate, or soulmate. And so it's not often that I'm guided to go into that detail, because most times just by identifying the program and collecting the energies and understanding what happened in that life is enough to clear it. But I have had situations where we've had a client that, in that specific clearing, there was actually self-punishment program that came up. And I think we cleared about 5 or 6 lives related to that self-punishment program, and they just kept coming up. And so finally, the question was asked, because we were able to clear those lives, but it was just one after another. We had a life where they were married and there was abuse. We had a life where they were in a master-slave relationship. And so there was vows that were kind of going on there. We had lives where they were brotherly, they were siblings and they needed to be cleared. And so all of these lives over time just kind of kept coming up in the clearing. And so finally we asked, is there a soul relationship there that needs to be cleared? And it came up that they were flame mates. And so when we're talking about soulmates, the way I was taught, the way the individual who channeled this modality has presented it to us, is that we all have a soul family. You can think of it as like a flower. And so each flower has a bunch of petals on it. Those are all members of your family. Occasionally, that petal will split in half. And that's when you will get what we call a twin flame. And so very similar journeys they're going through, yet they're attracted to one another because of the past, right? So there's a whole bunch of graphics. I think they're included in Robert Detzler's books, but not sure I can fully confirm that. But yeah, to answer your question, we can go in and identify if there are those relationships. But I will say too, with SRT, and I believe you had mentioned it earlier, we usually operate on a need to know basis. And so if we're clearing energies between two people and we're going back into past lives, do we need to know the specific details? Do we need to know who was actually playing those roles in those previous lives? Sometimes we do, but most times we don't. And I honestly don't usually push it if it intuitively comes in for me to ask, or if the pendulum kind of leads us in that direction, then I will. Otherwise, let's move on and clear more. And because, this is a tool that can go very quickly and we can clear a lot. But if we're getting bogged down in some of those details, then I find that it slows down the process, and it's not serving you as a client, because we could be clearing so much more, right?
I love it. I just think it's so wonderful that you're able to, like, if you need to get into the nitty gritty and figure it out, boom, there you go. But if you don't need to, and you can clear it just so simply, and it's wonderful because I've had clients where they're so meticulous about things, and they're talking, and sometimes they run themselves into a circle with their, like they're saying the same thing over and over. They're just using different context, and it does make for an extremely long session, and you don't want to cut them off because they're obviously processing energy that needs to get out. But at the same time, you can only have clients under in hypnosis for so long. So I love that you don't have to be under, you don't have to do much prep work except bring yourself. It's like, okay, I'm going to make an appointment, let's go sort of deal. And it's simple, and it's guided, and it's done quickly at times, because I feel like we got a lot done in my session. I don't know, you do these all the time, and what is it, like an hour and a half, and it's like, okay, you're done. And then you start seeing the results. And Michelle, have you seen the results from your session?
Absolutely. Kind of what Carolyn mentioned too, even being on the receiving end, it was hard to remember all the stuff that was cleared, which is a good thing, because then I wasn't attached to, oh, I cleared X, Y, and Z. It just happened. And I think so often, Carolyn, you had said this early on about feeling. We need, feel it. Don't just let your brain try to keep track of the story that's happened, but actually sit and be present and feel the changes that have happened. And absolutely, I think things are shifting even faster as a result, right? Because it kind of having that session, okay, clear. And I think, I don't know, for me at least, almost on a subconscious level, then you go, yeah, it can be cleared quickly if we allow it to be cleared quickly, right? And that's the big thing, is we have to allow it ourselves too, and not get hung up on things. So I think it's beautiful, because then you get all this housekeeping done, and things like manifestation come easier and faster. Like, it has such a ripple effect into our lives, and by osmosis, like my husband gets the healing effect of it, my kids, right? Anybody that's in my kind of circle, they're going to see the benefits, so to speak, of that healing. So absolutely, I don't know, it's just such a cool technique. I'm a big fan. One of the questions that I had written down is, with the clients that you've had, are you finding there's kind of themes of healing that seem to be out in the collective right now? Or is it just so unique? It's because I know it is unique, so you go down your own path. But if you take a step back, are there, themes of our people? Is it inner child work? Is it, are there kind of categories of work that are being cleared? Or is it just individual?
That's a really great question. And so when I am working with several clients at a time in a week, so, my schedule ebbs and flows here and there, sometimes you definitely do see collective themes, or like money issues have really been coming up for everyone. And of course, it might be a little bit different and unique, but you can sometimes see the common string, I guess, between everyone, right? But I will say too, with SRT, we can clear so many things. And so it can be very individual as well. Like, someone might come in one day wanting to clear for their business, and I keep feeling blocked, and so we'll go in and we'll clear blocks to success, the fear of being successful, clearing blocks to abundance, clearing blocks to money and the energy around the word money. We're clearing judgment of self, judgment of others, and all of those types of pieces related to that one topic that they're coming in. And then the next person might come in and say, I've got jaw pain, help me, right? And so what is that specific clearing? I guess, it really is spirit-led, and it's tailored specifically to that individual. What I will jump in and share here too is, because, when we're talking collectively, there is lots of power in group SRT clearings as well. And so this can be done in a group setting as well. And at first I was thinking that, group healings wouldn't be as powerful. You want that one-on-one attention. And I think there's a place for that. But I think that, we heal in community, and there is so much power to being alongside other people and using them and supporting each other in your healing journey. And so with SRT, it's a little bit different, right? So when you're going in and doing your SRT clearing with a group, we're identifying, especially when we're going back into the Akashic records, we're identifying past lives that everyone has a similar past life to. And so most times it's, everyone's playing the similar character, like, we're clearing a witch wound or something like that, right? That everyone had this experience when they stepped in their gift. They were crucified or sacrificed or burned at the stake or whatever it is. And so we all had a similar experience, and we're all bringing those energies forward into this life, and it needs to be cleared, right? There are situations too where, we have a past life where someone who was harmed, and another member of the group was actually the one that was doing the harm, right? And so there needed to be clearing on both ends. And so yeah, it's super fascinating doing this work in group healing as well, and it can be very powerful.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you could do it as in a group as well. Do you do those online or do you do those in person?
It can be done both, actually. So I know a lot of my colleagues and stuff like that will do them online just because for ease of reference, we'll do clearings around certain topics. We'll do clearings around, the full moon, working with the clearings so we can work with the energy of the full moon. Or we'll do a summer solstice clearing, for example. So clearing anything like summer solstice is, I think it's tomorrow. So yeah, so we'll clear around those energies, or you can do a New Year's clearing, or you could actually just call in a clearing online and do, like I'm specifically wanting to work with blocks to money. So whoever wants to work with me on that, let's go, and we'll do the clearing together. But you can also do it in person. And I know I have some colleagues that have done clearings at festivals for 500 people all at once. It's big to hold space, but it's possible. And it can be super impactful.
Do you have another question, Dawn?
Yes and no. I feel like I did, but so because we are pre-solstice energy, and I think we're just, as we're doing this, we're clearing because they're saying because there's 3 of us, we're like creating. Oh, and I feel it in my heart right now. Oh, sorry. It's like all of a sudden it was like, as I said, Trinity, like I felt like a top spinning. So I feel like whatever's happening is like coming from my heart chakra and going out. So we're definitely helping a lot of people. So even if they don't listen to this, we're creating a pre-energy vortex to the solstice energy. And they're saying it's all good. Just go with the flow.
I got goosebumps as you were saying
so
that. Like,
cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I always say just, how I can serve the collective, even if they, we never meet. That's what they're saying. They're like, that's what you're doing right now.
Just as we close out this episode, is what are some of those kind of high level topics, if you will, of things that people can clear so that when they're looking at this, because sometimes people, it's always tough to encapsulate describing some of energy work, right? Because it can go anywhere and everywhere, like you said, with money. There's always topics that people will kind of resonate with. And, oh, yes. And sometimes we don't think of it. It's like, oh, yeah, I do have a block. I feel like I have a block with that, but you don't think. So maybe if you could just share kind of some top categories, if you will, that SRT can assist with. Of course, it can assist with everything, but I think that's always nice for people to know.
And my team is just saying inner child healing needs to be worked on more.
So I'll be honest, the number one that I see people coming in for clearing on is often purpose. And that could be very much just the energy that I work with. I did a lot of clearing myself on clearing for purpose as I transitioned out of a former career. I wasn't sure where to go and what to do. And so many clearings. There were so many clearings. Because, as we were releasing layer after layer of, working on worthiness, working on stepping into power, releasing those societal programs that are instilled in us that, you have to have a good pension and you have to work hard to get anything good in life. And, all of those limiting beliefs that come along. And so I do see a lot of clients come to me for clearing for purpose and next steps. And of course, SRT is not predicting the future, but we're clearing so you get to a place of neutrality so you can better work and better step into your future, right? And so purpose is definitely one of those ones. I get a few people that are coming in for business clearings, blocks to abundance, blocks to finance, blocks to manifesting, like, say, I keep trying and nothing's budging. Well, you could have, a program that's running where it's just blocking you from accepting good, accepting abundance, or there could be a belief where, you can't, or a vow that could have been taken where, a poverty vow, where you can't be making money doing work that is good in this world, right? And so there could be those deep-seated beliefs. And so I often see people who are coming in for those top reasons. But SRT has lots of other uses too. We're guided sometimes to do lots of inner child work. Most times that will come through working in the Akashics with SRTs. And so going into a past life or a previous experience in this life that could have been rooted in a past life, right? And so we'll often see inner child work coming up. And I think it's probably a good time now to share, we don't just go into the Akashic records with SRT. There's lots of things that we can work and clear on. And so one of my favorites is, and I used to have this all the time when I used to attend SRT sessions before actually doing it for myself, is I've got something going on between me and this person. And I've tried, and I've tried, and we cannot get past this, or we're having a hard time getting past this. Is there anything that needs to be clear between us? And so we'll clear the energies between that person. We'll see, are there any blocking programs, or are there any contracts? Are there any vows that are, ready to be done? Are there any contracts that are ready to be completed? And what can we clear to bring us to a state of neutrality, so moving forward we can build a better relationship and be in a better place? I've also had clients come in with relationships that just aren't really working very well, and I was guided. I'm like, you know what, let's just test their level of consciousness. I'm just curious. And so we went and we saw that, the one person was operating at a very high level of consciousness and her partner was not. And so the clashes that they were experiencing and the disconnect in their relationship was that he wasn't willing to come up and meet her at that level of consciousness. And so just by being aware that that was there, that was very beneficial. And then I want to share the last thing that I love to help people with, and I have used myself many times, is that I will test the percent benefit and the level of consciousness of any program or course that I'm planning on taking. I'll ask, what percent new information might I get from this? If everything's operating in alignment, and and if there's anything that needs to be cleared. And so, I remember when I was selling my home, I tested, I'm like, is there anything between me and this realtor that I'm about to enter a contract with? Is there anything that needs to be cleared between us? Is there anything that I need to know? Is there any discordant energy? And yeah, sometimes we go back and we clear, because we've had lives with many people that are in our circles, right? And most times it's not the first time we've met someone. There's a soul recognition. There's, we're here to help each other learn lessons in life, right? So yeah, I always check to see if there's anything.
Wow, I love it. It's so beautiful what you do. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And it just makes my heart glow with happiness, because it's such a simple but powerful tool that I wish more people would know about, because it is so much can get done in an hour and a half session. And people need to know that there are tools out there, that we don't have to be in this programming that we have, been pretty much told this is the only thing that you can do to help yourself. And I'm all about breaking programs. So I just love that it's so simple and so powerful. And we are helping the collective, and it ripples out from there. So thank you so much, Carolyn. I can't wait to, I have a feeling that we're going to do another sessions someday. So looking forward to that.
I would love that. Thank you.
And one of the last things that I want to talk about this is, any modality that any of healer does. I love the fact that we all bring our experiences and our aspects, like Carolyn was saying, she gets a certain maybe type of people because of what she's worked on. And so because she's worked on it, there's that extra power, so to speak, in healing others with similar things. So Dawn, myself, and Carolyn could all do the same modality. We're not in competition. We're all helping the collective. We're all healing ourselves while we do work. Like any energy work, we're typically it ends up kind of having that effect on us. So I love this technique, and I really appreciate, Carolyn, you coming on to share more of it. And yes, I know we'll be doing another session as well in the future. And it's just, check out Carolyn's website. We'll put all of her details again on our website, and as part of the podcast information, have a session. She's lovely. I've, been blessed to work on those corporate roles with her for several years, and here we are kicking butt in the energy world now. So I love how things come around, different circle, and to be reconnected. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny how things work out and how life takes us into different places. And so, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated our conversation today.
Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Go to embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website, alchemy-sacredsound.com. And to book a quantum energy healing session or learn Reiki or Tuning Forks, visit Michelle on her website at energetisembrace.com.
Infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for joining us.